woke up with a boldness in my spirit, and I just feel that I need to share my testimony. So I'm gonna start with my childhood. So again, like I was telling y'all in the last video, I woke up with these images of me as a little girl and just different glimpses from my childhood of things that happened in my childhood. And it just kept coming to me. So I was like, okay, I gotta get up, I gotta share this. So, but I proceeded to get myself ready for work, and I was like, you know what, I'm going full force. Holy Spirit, I'm just gonna let it all out. I'm not gonna keep sitting on this, because like the messages I received yesterday just gave me, some boldness, and I'm like, so here you go. So, however, I was raised by my brother's dad. So my mom have 3 children. It's myself and my 2 brothers. My other siblings is by the dad who raised me. Those my siblings from him. So, however, I was raised in the house with my mom, my 2 brothers, and my brother's dad, and then my oldest brother, Eric, who is also now deceased. My other 2 brothers, Dominic and Sean, they are now deceased as well. But we'll talk about that later on. So now I'm my mom's only surviving child. However, so I was raised in the house with them. And my childhood was an awesome childhood. I had a good childhood. I was very spoiled. I was in a home with 2 parents, at that particular time. And I love Barney. So I have everything I had in my room was Barney. I had the light switch, the trash can, the pajamas, every Barney tape that episode that ever came out on TV. I had all the teddy bears, you name it. I had it. However, so, like I said, I was spoiled. I was the only girl, of course. So in the home with my mom, my dad, the dad that raised me, and my brothers, we went to church on Sundays. My dad was very strict because he was in the military, and he just didn't play. He didn't play at all. He was strict. He instilled a lot. Everything with him was the principle. So, I'm big on principles because that's how I was raised. And so we had this thing where he did not like you eating with your elbows on the table. So you had to eat without your elbows being on the table. And whatever he made in the house, or whatever him or my mom fixed, is what we had to eat. If you did not eat it, you went to bed hungry, or either depending on the mood that he was in, you would sit there, even if it was all night to the next day, and you would sit there until you ate that food. That's just how it was. That's just what it was. My dad didn't really have to say much to us because he was the type that all he could do was walk in the room and you fear him. And the whole house just got quiet and shut down. We did not play with him at all. My mom and him, their relationship was pretty, it was okay, I guess. A lot of things that they did try to hide and keep from us, but I heard all the arguments, I heard the fights from here and there. So sometimes it was some abuse going on there, but for the most part, my dad was just an all-around awesome guy. Whatever, we needed, he provided. And my mom, she worked as well. So my mom worked the day shift and my dad worked the night shift. So it worked out for us, for our family. And then my oldest brother, Eric, he'll be in the house with us while, they were at work or gone. And then he'll get me up for school in the morning. And by that time, my mom would already left out the door. But my mom used to do my hair at night. So my dad, he would come and, try to refix my borax, make sure I was okay, and walk me to the bus stop and all that. So it was, everything that a little girl asked for. I was a big daddy's girl, of course, growing up. And so I had started around about the age of 6. I was like 6 going on 7. I had started having like these nightmares every single night. I would have crazy nightmares about monsters for some reason, always in the middle of the night. And I would just get up and I would run out of my room and run into my parents' room. And when you go in my parents' room, my mom was always like on one side of the bed and my dad was on the other side of the bed. They never was like sleeping close together. So I would just run and just dive in the middle of the bed and like, I'm having nightmares, and they'll let me get in the bed with them. But my dad always would want me on the side of him where he was at, so he would kind of scoot over towards the middle and have me on the edge. And as a little girl, I felt okay. I was protected. I was in my dad's arms. So I'm like, okay, I'm with my dad. My dad not gonna let nothing happen to me, so I'm good. I'm safe or whatever. So that particular night, I proceeded to drift off and go to sleep. As I was sleeping, I was woke up to my dad's hands rubbing in between my inner thighs. And, you know, that's the first time that he has ever, like, touched me inappropriately ever, you know. So it was kind of weird, because I woke up to that and I didn't quite understand what was going on. But anyway, I still laid there. I didn't say a word. I didn't move. I didn't do nothing. He just kept rubbing them in between my legs, and he rubbed in between my legs for a while. And that was that first night. So we got up. I got up that morning. My mom was already going to work. My dad was off that particular night, and so, you know, he woke me up for school. He walked me to the bus stop, refixed my barrettes on my head as he would usually do. And, you know, I proceeded about my day and going on, and, you know, there was just no, I never spoke of it. I never, nothing. So anyway, so again, at night, I will always have like these crazy nightmares, and it was always about some monsters being in my room. And it was always like once I got into like a deep sleep, and then I would just wake up out of my sleep and like monsters, I'm scared, like monsters in my room or under my bed. And I would always run into my parents' room, get in the bed in between them. So although, you know, that first time my dad ever touched me inappropriately was that first time that it has ever happened. And like I said, I didn't think nothing of it, because again, I'm 6 years old going on 7. I'm a child. Like, I'm not, you know, it's my dad. I'm not thinking that my dad would do anything to hurt me, whatever. So the next night I go in, because I'm having the nightmares again, and I go in and I get in the middle of the bed, and once again my dad slides me to the opposite side of him where he's at, and I'm on the edge, and now I'm like closer to him than I am, instead of being in between him and my mom. So then he goes to, you know, rubbing on me again as I don't drift off to sleep. You know, once I got in the bed and I drift off to sleep, and this time he went more to my private area, and he just started touching around in it and fiddling around it, rubbing all on me and everything. Like I was telling y'all, I'm being transparent, so I'm just telling my story. Like, this is real. I'm not making anything up. And, you know, at times I used to wonder, like, is this made up? Like, why I keep having these dreams about this? You know, so it definitely did happen, and it took place. And I'm just, you know, just sharing my testimony. Like, again, I was telling y'all, I woke up with a boldness, so here it is. You know, hopefully someone can be free and safe from it, because I know I'm not the only person that have experienced this. So, however, you know, he proceeded to continue to touch on me and all around my vagina, just rubbing it, you know, and I still never said nothing. I just laid there. That's the second night in a row that it had happened. First, he was rubbing in between my inner thighs. The second time, he went deeper. He went to my private area, rubbing all around it, in it, you know, on the outside of it, and in between it, you know, all that. And I just laid there, didn't say nothing. Of course, I was just laying there kind of very confused. But again, that was my dad, and I didn't move. I didn't say a word. That happened. That was that night. Go on the next day, you know what I'm saying, continue on about my day, very confused, and I just really didn't understand. But I still never spoke a word to my mom, to nobody, like never ever said anything. And it was just like only me and my dad knew what was going on. The next time that it happened, again, same scenario. I run in the room because I had a bad dream, and although I knew my dad was now being weird to me and I didn't quite understand what was going on, I still went in their room with my parents, because those are my parents, right? So go in there. My dad proceeded to touch me again, and then this time I just remember like just laying there, and I was just like, what is he doing? You know, and I just laid there, but I never said nothing because I wouldn't dare say anything to him. But I just laid there, and he just kept rubbing and touching all on me. And my mom on the other side of the bed, and I just remember laying there thinking to myself, like, how could she not know that he is doing something like that? Something is going on. She don't feel no movement in the bed. I didn't understand. Like, she don't find it weird that when I would always get in the bed, he would always slide me over towards him and away from her. Like, it just, those thoughts used to run through my mind. But mind you, I'm still a child. I know what's going on is wrong, and what's happening is wrong, but I'm still not understanding, like, why is my dad doing this to me? And it's like, that's my dad. I was just highly confused. So, however, that went on, and it went on for a little while. And so I still never spoke of it. I still never said nothing. I honestly don't remember if I ever acted out or acted different. I don't remember. I can't recall any of that. I just know that I just knew what he was doing was wrong, and I honestly did want it to stop, but I never spoke of a word of it. I never told anybody. I just kind of just dealt with it. It was just that thing, like, you know. And so one particular day, my mom, she was going to work. Well, she was supposed to go to work, and my dad, he was off because he had got off that morning. I believe it was like maybe a Friday or a Saturday. I really don't quite recall it, but sometimes, you know, it comes back to my memory from time to time. But and my mom left to go to work, or so we thought. She left to go to work. My brothers was in the room taking a nap. My oldest brother wasn't there, and I was taking a nap as well. But my dad took me out of my bed to put me in the bed with him, and we was both taking a nap. Okay. And so because nobody was there and my brothers was in their room sleeping, this time he got bold, and when he would touch me this time, it didn't feel like any other time that he had ever touched me. You know, it hurt a little bit, had more pressure, and I was just like, oh, that hurt, like, what is that? And he was like, he just told me, shh, it's my fingers, or whatever the case may be. And he proceeded to continue to do what he would always normally do, play all around me, and, you know, whatever. And I just remember laying there, then the tears just started flowing, because I knew that at this point, like this is totally wrong. This is not right. You're my dad. You're not supposed to be doing this. And then now this time it felt different. It hurted. So, after maybe like a few minutes or whatever of him doing that or whatever, we heard a big boom at the door, and he told me, get up, and I had hurry up and jumped up. So mind you, I didn't have nothing on but my underwear. I didn't have no my Bonnie pajamas was now off, and he just only had his underwear on. So when he told me to get up, I ran in the living room, and it was my mom. She bust through the door. So when she bust through the door, the first thing that she did, she was like, come here to me right now. And I was like, yes. And she just felt my drawers. She pulled my drawers down. She felt my drawers, and I just remember her doing her hand like this and smelling her hands, and then she just went off. Every cuss word that you can name, and I just remembering that day, feeling like finally she knew something was going on, because what would make her just come home when she was supposed to left out the door to go to work, to come home and do that? So at that time, I just knew, like, okay, my mom been knowing this was going on, and maybe she didn't know how to respond because she was scared of my dad, or maybe I don't know what it was that made her come back home to do that, but she knew something was wrong. She knew something was going on. Okay, so my dad proceeded to come into the room. He acted as if he didn't know anything what was going on, what's going on with my mom. They got into it. I remember my mama going off, and she called the police. And then from that point, I was taken from there and questioned by a bunch of police. But hold on, let me back up, because I forgot a very important piece. My mom's niece, one of my oldest cousins, used to come over on the weekends and sometime in the summertime to visit. And I maybe some things transpired between her and my dad, and he was doing things to her that I later found out, because she used to come over all the time, and then it got to a point where she just stopped coming out of the blue, and she never spoke of it. She never told anybody. But because it was happening to me too, when everything came out and my mom called the police and I was questioned by all these people, then my cousin came forth and told her side of the story too. So however, we went back and forth to court. I had to talk to so many people, y'all. Mind you, I'm only 6 years old going on 7, and I know everything that my dad was doing to me was wrong. But then now I had to tell all these strangers, all these people whom I did not know, where he was touching me at, the things that he did to me, whatever. And I'm like, at the same time, this is my dad, so imagine it's too much for a child. I'm only a child, right? So anyway, girl, I'm talking to all these people, detectives, police, all different people, and I'm being videoed, and they got us all separated from my mom. They're talking to my brothers, the whole nine, whatever. And I just remember, like, tired of talking to people and telling them the same thing over and over, like what happened, what he did to multiple people, that it got to a point that I just shut down. So during the time where we had to go back and forth to court, you know, because now my dad was being charged for doing sexual things to me and also to my cousin, because again, my cousin came forth once I came out. Once my mom called the police, and then I started talking, then she started talking. So it was that type of thing. So however, we while the investigation was going on, I had went to live with my aunt down Blackwell, 17th and Maury. And, you know, I stayed down there for a while because, of course, I had to be separated. I couldn't be there. I couldn't be in the house around him while we would go back and forth to court. But so we started going back and forth to court and everything. And when it was time for me to testify, to tell on my dad, I didn't tell on my dad. It was something that I just couldn't do. I felt like weird. I felt strange. I really didn't know how to feel. I'm a little girl, 6 years old, going on 7, trying to process all of that, what was happening, all that went on and that happened to me. And at the same time, I'm like, this is my dad. I love my dad. What he did was wrong, correct, but I still love my dad. And I was like a big daddy's girl, so I just didn't understand why he did what he did, or what he was doing, or what even made him do that. But I also knew that he was about to get in some big trouble, and I just kept hearing him talk about him going to jail, and I just didn't want that for him. So when it got time for me, when it's time for us to testify in court, my cousin, she came forth, she told her side of the story. But when it came to me, I would not testify against my dad. I sat there, I froze up. I had got so tired of talking to people. I had got so tired of saying the same thing over and over and over again, that when it was time for me to tell my side of the story, I refused and I didn't say a word. So what happened was, I believe the case got dismissed because he didn't never get any time for that, any jail time or anything like that. So I believe the case got dismissed, I believe. And it just was like a big family secret in our family. Like nobody talked about it ever again in life. My uncles, and my mom had stopped speaking because, he did things to my oldest cousin, and, they were very upset. Like all of my family was upset. I just remember everybody being upset. It was so much chaos. It was so much drama. But anyway, we ended up going with my mom. Well, I was still with my aunt until everything was resolved. And because I went and testified, after that, we ended up going back home with my dad. Me, my mom, and my brothers. And I just remember being like relieved that it was finally over, but then I was upset at the same time. Like, cause I'm like, okay, yes, I didn't want my dad to go to jail, but I just remember being very upset with my mom because you will put me back in that environment, So mind you, I'm a little girl. I'm still trying to figure all this out. I'm still trying to process. It's too much for me to process as a little girl. Anyway, I'm a child myself. You know what I'm saying? So I knew like I said, what was going on should not have been going on. And I just didn't want my dad to get in trouble. I was even sorry that it happened to my cousin because I wasn't aware that it was happening to her either. Or whatever transpired. I don't know all the details of that. Whatever happened, I didn't know that it was happening or that it had happened. So it was like a big family secret. Nobody never spoke about it again in my family. Everybody just went back to normal. Some of the family didn't speak for a while, then some of the family still spoke, and we just never talked about that situation like ever again. So we end up going back to live with my mom and my dad in the same house, and my brothers. And I just don't remember things ever being the same again. I know that he never touched me again after that situation, after the court and everything happened. But I just remember like never feeling the same ever again. You know what I'm saying? I just remember having like from that moment forth, like having the biggest attitude towards my mom. But she didn't really know that I felt that way because again, I'm a child. But I do remember vividly like just being so upset with her because it's like, okay, yeah, you saved me, you knew what was going on, but then you take me back. So it's just like a big, thing that I had like as a child growing up. I always had that on my mind, but I never had like voiced that to my mom much. So like I said, it was like a big family secret and it was just swept under the rug. So from there, when my mom and my dad finally split, I don't really know what happened to make her finally leave him, but it wasn't off what happened to me because clearly we went back there. But I don't remember us staying there much longer. And after that, we end up moving, and I moved down to, I believe that would have been Ruffin Road. At my grandma's house, we used to live there in Ruffin Road, in the big black and yellow house, like a bumblebee, in David Gardens. That was my grandma's house. So we lived there. We ended up moving in with my grandmother. And like I said, that whatever happened was like a big family secret, and we never ever spoke about it again. So just from that point forward, from being in a home that was stable, and then having a dad whom I loved so much that did things to me inappropriately, that touched me inappropriately, that, made me feel very uncomfortable, and he was my dad. And then having to move from there, then going to spend some time in Blackwell with my aunt, and then going down for us to move out of our home, out of our own rooms, to move into a house with my grandmother, my aunt, and my grandma's boyfriend, which is my papa at the time. You know, he's deceased now too, but that was my papa, and we all living in this house together. And just out of my zone. I just remember feeling like, dang, like everything was just good, and what happened and why me. And mind you, all this was just at a very young age. So just imagine at a very young age having to go through that, not fully processing it really, but then just been moved from this place to that place and to another place, and you not in your own room no more. You have to now share with people. You have to now share with your brothers. You now sharing with your grandmother and your aunt, sometimes sleeping in your grandma's bed. It just, it was just a mess. So it just come from being stable to being unstable, and still trying to process everything that had already happened. So it just was major. But y'all stay right here, because I have more. I'm not done.